واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين. القول مني في جميع الأشياء قول آل محمد فيما أسروا وما أعلنوا وفيما بلغني عنهم وفيما لم يبلغني. أما بعد، فقد قال الله العظيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ادع إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن إن ربك هو أعلم بمن ضل عن سبيله وهو أعلم بالمهتدين. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. First of all, we congratulate our dear Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman and the believing men and women for the remembrance of the birth of our dear Imam Hassan al-Askari a.s. For this great occasion, please recite aloud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. A area of ibtila, the area which a lot of parents, a lot of the older generation will often complain from, is that we have seen a large wave of the youth turn against Islam. We have seen many of the youth, especially in our Western countries, leave the path of Islam. They say that this religion is not a religion of peace. This religion has not adapted to today's society. And you see a lot of the people, either they turn to another religion like Christianity, or they turn to atheism, into not believing in a God. Now, our topic isn't about targeting the misconceptions regarding why people leave Islam, but more of the reason or the social reasons behind what may lead to many of our youth leaving Islam. Because this isn't just something that happens in one day. Your son, your daughter, our youth, they don't wake up one day and say, you know what, I do not feel like being a Muslim, I'm leaving Islam. This is a process. And this process takes a long time. So, we want to look at what deters our youth from Islam. What pushes our youth away from the fold of Islam. And we want to focus on how do we fix these deterrents? How do we ensure that we are aware of these deterrents so our youth and even ourselves, we become aware of this so that we can apply the correct message of Islam, the correct teachings of Islam, and in other words, the teachings of Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. We will look at three deterrents, inshallah. The first deterrent is the cultural and religious confusion. What do I mean by this? Our parents, our forefathers, when they come to a country like this, these Western countries, they carry a certain set of beliefs with them that they have deemed to be religious. However, in some of these instances, there has become a confusion between culture and between what? Religion. And this confusion at times can be a deterrent away from Islam. What do I mean by this? You have many of the youth, when they see certain cultural practices and they are packaged as a what? As a religious Islamic practice. They will look at this practice. They will find it objectionable. They will say, this doesn't look right. This doesn't sound right. But the reality is they do not know that this is a cultural practice. This is something that is from culture. This isn't really a religious practice. And because of this confusion, many of the youth will tend to leave the fold of Islam because they feel like this shouldn't be part of Islam. And it's not. But because of this confusion that occurs, many of the youth may start to find this practice objectionable and link it to Islam. I'll give you a story so you understand what I mean by this. There is an Egyptian writer. He's Arabic. His writings, his books, they were in Arabic. This man, his story is that he was a Muslim and he grew up a Muslim. But somewhere along the line, he became an atheist. he left Islam completely. And he wrote books about him leaving Islam. But then eventually he came back into Islam. And he even had a television program where he would speak about the intertwinement of science and religion. However, when he writes in his book regarding why he left Islam, what was the reason why he left Islam, he says that he grew up in a rural area in Egypt. So like a farm area, an area that's far from city life, if you will. They had a problem in their house. What was this problem? There were many insects. They were plaguing the house. They were filling up the house. And they really had a lot of problems because of this. Their crops were dying, so on and so forth. Many problems they had. So the only thing that they knew what to do, because again, they're far away from city life. They do not understand that there is pesticides and there is a specialist for this that you can call and he'll come and he'll get rid of the insects. They went to their local sheikh. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. They went to their local sheikh. They told him, Sheikh, we have this problem. These insects, they won't leave the house. They're plaguing the house. They're causing us a lot of problems. Now, instead of his sheikh telling him that, Habibi, for this, you go down to the city, you ask for pesticides, whatever it is, and you get rid of the problem. What did the sheikh do? The sheikh told him, here is a bunch of verses from the Quran, like a hiriz, or a talisman if you will. Put this inside the house, and there will be no more insects the next day. So, he listened to the sheikh. He got the verses of the Quran, he went into his house, he placed this talisman or this hiriz, and he waited for the next day. He waited for a week. He waited for a month. There were still insects inside this house. And as a matter of fact, these insects were walking above the verses of the Quran, on top of the verses of the Quran. So what did this young man come to the conclusion of? He was like, if God cannot protect his words from these insects, then no such God exists. See, where cultural practice, some of them, not all of them, you have to understand, many of our cultural practices are beautiful. To respect your elders, respect your parents, this is all good. But some of them, they do not have a basis in Islam. Something like this. But when after that and after a while of him becoming an atheist, he found out that this had nothing to do with Islam. He returned back to Islam, but in a different lens. A lens which actually questions, is this Islam or is this culture? So this is something that can deter our youth from Islam. Something like this. Another thing, or our second deterrent, is what? Hypocrisy. Focus with me on this. Children, when they are first born, can they understand Allah? They really can't. It's a very difficult concept to understand that there is something which is unseen, unheard, but it affects our lives so much. It's a very difficult concept for a child to understand. However, how does the child conceptualize the idea of Allah, especially when he begins growing up and understanding who Allah is? The first link that that child makes is the parents. So for example, you tell him once he grows up to a certain age that Allah is the one who gives us our sustenance, our rizq. What's he going to say? Oh, so like my dad. How my dad brings in the food, brings in the money, he buys us clothes, roof over our heads, my dad. And then if you tell him that Allah loves you, He cares for you unconditionally, what's he going to say? Oh, like my mum. So this is the thing. Humans in general, when you give them new information, what do they do with that? They do not know where to put this new information. So what they do is they put it in a side of their brain with knowledge that they already know. It's called in psychology assimilation. They assimilate this knowledge into components which they already understand. So if you're learning a completely new field of knowledge, in order for you to understand this very abstract, difficult piece of knowledge, you connect it to an analogy of something you know. Some of us might be studying biology. So when they say, what's the mitochondria? The powerhouse of the cell. See, you know what a powerhouse is? Something that fuels something, gives the power behind it. So you say, what? The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. You understand it now. The child the closest conception of God to the child is the parents. And as it grows up, the more it understands about Allah, then it separates from the understanding of Allah to the parents. However, in these early years, it is crucial that the child with the parents has a very positive relationship, and that the parents provide the best form of role modeling that they can, because this relationship with the parents will inform and will predict the child's relationship with Allah when that child grows up. It's something, I don't want to drop a lot of big names and everything, but I'll make it very simple so you understand what I mean. There's something called the attachment theory in psychology. What's the attachment theory? The attachment theory says that the relationship of the child with the parents, the form of attachment the child has with the parents, informs and predicts what the child will be like in the future. So, the child's attachment with the parents, if it's an attachment that is, let's say it's a bad attachment, or what they call an anxious attachment, that they do not have a good relationship with their parents, they hate being around their parents, so on and so forth. They build a negative attachment with the parents. When they grow up, it can predict that this child, when that child grows up, will have that same type of attachment, for example, when that person gets married, or that relationship that person carries with later on with friends. With so many different areas of life, the attachment of the child predicts that in the future. Of them is the child's relationship with his own God. So for example, if the child's relationship with the parents is a negative one, is a relationship which is not a good relationship, that child will carry that understanding of that relationship with who? With Allah. So, for example, the father is in and out of the child's life. The father is not in the child's life. He's in and out of the child's life. When the child wants his father to be there, the father's nowhere to be found. This child, when he grows up, his understanding of Allah is that Allah's not there for him. Allah's not there to support him. Allah doesn't care about him. Where did he get this idea from? It's the attachment style that that child had with his what? With his father. Same thing with the mother. If the mother doesn't show love and mercy to her child, doesn't show care and compassion to her child, when her child needs something, she doesn't show the attention to that child, shows the child that you matter, I care about you. This child, when he grows up, he will understand God as God doesn't care about me. God is not merciful towards me. God doesn't love me. God doesn't care about what I want specifically. So the relationship the child has to the parents is very important. Very important. So I'll give you so linking it to our point, which is what? Hypocrisy. So if the child sees his father outside of the house, MashaAllah, wali min awliya Allah. He is so religious. In front of everyone, he is praying, fasting, his akhlaq, the way he speaks, the way he conducts himself. He's carrying a massive sibha that's about this long. It's beautiful. But then he sees his father inside the house, Fir'aun. The father's swearing, the father's disrespectful, the father is abusive. The child sees both of these. So the child is then going to understand, well, hold on. If my father here, the religious man, is that much of a hypocrite, that means all religious people are like this. That means every single religious person that I've encountered is exactly like my father. So if these are the religious people, what's the point of religion? They leave religion. That's what hypocrisy can do. Especially when the child observes their parents and they see that their parents are hypocrites. That affects the child and the child's understanding of what good people are. So it is very important that we observe this. Moving on to the third and final repellent after salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The third repellent here is introducing Allah to our youth incorrectly. And this is the most important one. Introducing Allah to our youth incorrectly is one of the main reasons, if not the main reason, why many of our youth do not understand Islam very well. They do not understand Allah very well. They do not understand how our religion works. It is because the parents, those who are caring for the child, have not introduced Allah correctly to that child. What do I mean by this? Let's start off with a preface, a point before I get into that. The first mistake you can do is introducing Allah too late to that child. That's the first mistake you're going to do. Introducing Allah too late to that child. That child, when he goes to school for 6 hours a day, he is absorbing every other idea under the sun except for yours. And then after school, what happens? What do? They hold on to their iPad. They're absorbing ideas from there. And if you want to come and you want to introduce Allah to that child, after years of that child already being introduced to many different ideas, many different philosophies, many different constructs of what life should be like, it's too late. I'll give you an example. You have a daughter. This daughter of yours, in the young ages, you do not teach her to love the hijab. You do not teach her to wear the hijab. You do not teach her how beautiful wearing a hijab is. You say, what? Oh, it's too early. She's still young. Wait for later. But what you don't know is throughout that time period, what's your daughter doing? She's going to school. She's on her iPad. What's she looking at on her iPad? All these influencers, all these actresses, all these models, and all these ideas of beauty. What's she going to understand? That to be beautiful, you're supposed to not wear the hijab. You're supposed to not cover yourself. You're supposed to wear makeup. That's what being beautiful means. So if you, after all this period of time, are trying to introduce to your daughter that wearing a hijab is something that's important, is something that's good, it's too late. She's already been absorbed by all of these ideas. Like the Imam says, he says that the child is like an empty piece of land, thirsty. Whatever you feed it, whatever first is fed, is what will absorb. So, if the child first absorbs the ideas that are against Islam, it is going to be very difficult for you to come and try to reintroduce the ideas of Islam to that child. Because they've been fed and given the waters and the fruits and the flowers and the trees of all these ideas, it's going to be too late for you to rip the tree from its roots. That is the first mistake you can do. Introducing Allah too late to the child. And then you tell him, it's weird because I get many of these cases. The father comes or the mother speaks to me. My child is leaving Islam. My child does not want to become a Muslim anymore. I'll tell her, inshallah khair. How old is this child? 16. What have you been doing? You've waited 16 years until you're starting to get worried about your child. 16 years. When you're supposed to start with that child from the very beginning. Or at the least, like the Imam says, from 7 years old. From 7 years old, you're supposed to start working on the child. Introducing Allah, Islam, bringing them to the mosque. 16 years old, then you remember you have a child and then you come. And whose fault is it? It's the sheikh's fault. It's the lecturer's fault. It's the maraji's fault. It's all of their fault. They're the reason why my children left Islam. Where were you this whole time? Where were you all of this time? Then they say something along the lines of, oh, I was working. I was very busy with work. Everyone works, Habibi. Everyone has work. Everyone has responsibilities. You have to make time for this. You have to specify time for your children. They are your most important investment. Money will come and go. But there is nothing more important than having a child who prays for you when you are dead, who remembers you, who pays sadaqah on your behalf when you are dead, and you get all of these hasanat when you are in the grave. There is nothing more important than that. Imam Askari a.s, he has a beautiful narration in regards to this. He says, لا يشغلك رزق مضمون من عمل مفروض. He says, do not concern yourself with sustenance that is guaranteed to you, with rizq that is guaranteed to you. Who's guaranteeing this? Allah. لا يشغلك رزق مضمون من عمل مفروض. Do not let yourself get busy with sustenance that Allah has guaranteed for you, and what sacrifice you make is what's wajib. You sacrifice your salah because I'm working. You sacrifice your akhirah, what? Because I'm working. Allah has already guaranteed for you your money. You want to get it in halal, you want to get it in haram. Allah has guaranteed for you that, for example, every year, that this year, Fulan is going to make $100,000. Now, how you want to get it is your choice, but it's guaranteed for you. You want to get it through halal or through haram, that's your choice. And you will be punished or rewarded accordingly. But Allah has guaranteed the exact same amount. The exact same amount Allah has guaranteed for you. So this is something guaranteed by Allah, this rizq. So do not sacrifice your akhirah, amalin mafruḍ, your obligation. One of them is raising your children. One of them is taking care of your religion, remembering your akhirah. Do not sacrifice that because what? I'm working. And that's the main excuse that they give. Why didn't you teach your child? Well, I was working. Inshallah khair. It's beautiful. It's good on you. But you have to make some sort of time for your children. Sit them down after school, after your work. Sit down. Ask this child, what have you been learning? What have they been teaching you at school? Come talk to me. That's the problem. We do not have any communication with our children. We think that just because we pay for them, it's enough. Yeah, that's good. They're eating, they're drinking, they have a roof over their heads. You have to understand, what ideas are my children absorbing? What are they understanding? So you can correct that. You don't talk to them. Weeks on end, you don't even see them. What do you expect? There's going to be other people that take care of them. There's going to be other people that talk to them. There's going to be other people that make them feel like home, and they give them their ideas. It's up to you. It's up to you. At the end of the day, this is a responsibility. If this child or this son or daughter of yours is under the age where you still care for them, they are your responsibility, and Allah will hold you accountable. Because like I said, these ages are so important for shaping that child's future. It is so crucial, beyond what we can understand. These ages shape the child's future on so many different levels. So of course Allah is going to hold you accountable. If you have introduced religion wrongly to your son or to your daughter, and they grow up to be atheists, Allah will still hold you accountable. It is because of the way you treated your son, you treated your daughter, this child has grown up to live and hate Islam. So this is a very important point we need to focus on. And then we come to introducing Allah correctly to our children. There's both ends of the spectrum that some people do. One end is, do this or you're going Jahannam. Alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullah. Do this or you're going to get punished. Do this, Allah will burn you in the hellfire. Treating Allah as if they are your personal punisher. They are the punisher. They are there just to punish you. Do this, Jahannam. Do this, bin-nar. That is one end of the extreme. Then you have the other end of the extreme. Habibi, do what you want. Allah loves you. You don't have to pray. You don't have to fast. You don't have to come Hussainyat. Do whatever you want. These are two ends of the extreme that we do not want. There's a middle ground. Introducing Allah, like we said in the beginning, first of all, through your actions. By not being hypocritical. By showing this child how much of a role model you are without even speaking. Just by the way you carry yourself in front of your child. If you pray enough times in front of your kid will get up and pray with you. If you wake up for Salat al-Fajr every day, your child's going to get up and pray with you. If you do not swear inside your house or outside your house, your child will not swear. You start off with your actions. Then you come to the words. And you start to make your child understand who Allah is. That Allah loves you, yes. He created you out of His mercy, yes. He cares for you, He loves you more than anyone. But He has given us a list of rules. These rules are to make sure we are the best version of ourselves possible. He has made everything else halal, and a very small amount of things that are haram. Stay away from these haram things. Do your wajibat, which is praying 5 times a day, having good akhlaq, being respectful, and you're in the safety. introducing Allah correctly is very important. And is very crucial, because that will inform how the child has that relationship with Allah. If you introduce Allah as a punisher, that if you do this, you're going Jahannam. If you do this, Allah will hang you upside down. If you do this, He will cut you up piece by piece. He will grow up hating Allah. That child will grow up thinking that Allah just wants to punish me for no reason. And then on the other end of the spectrum, the same thing happens. So having that balance when introducing Allah to the child. But what does that entail? All of this, what does that entail? Number one, it entails that the parents themselves have a good understanding of religion. What does that mean? That means we have to learn. We have to learn. Even if you're old, it doesn't matter. Min al-mahdi ila al-lahd. Your process of learning from the cradle to the grave. It is not a shame. If you feel like you're 40 years old and you do not understand Allah properly yourself to teach your child, go and learn. There's no aib in that. Go and learn. And then come and teach your child. That's number one. Number two, fixing your akhlaq. Having self-accountability. Being like, wait, my child's watching me. I have to make sure I'm doing the right thing to set myself as a good role model for that child. So learning, carrying ourselves correctly, being self-accountable, being aware of these things. We can save so much or so many of our youth from leaving Islam. Just by a couple of simple tweaks. Nothing more. Nothing more. It doesn't need that much. It is not that deep. Seriously. Just having good akhlaq, teaching our children properly, caring for our child, being aware of our children, talking to them if they need anything. Be the type of parent that if your child goes through a tough time, he comes to you. Many of our children, many of our youth, if you ask them, if you go through a tough time, where do you go? That child will tell you, I go nowhere. I don't know who to talk to. I'm not going to go to my father. He'll just start yelling at me. I won't go to my mother. She'll just keep blaming me for everything. Be a safe haven for your children. Be the type of parent that if anything goes bad with the child, he'll be like, you know what? I'll go to my dad. I'll go to my mom. But if you do not establish this relationship with your children will find other people to go to. Will find other people to speak to. And it won't be you. And then may Allah save us from that outcome. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج والعافية والنصر واجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه ومن شيعته ومحبيه وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات رحم الله من قرأ السورة المباركة الفاتحة مع الصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.